The Last Hope of Humanity. Chapter 1. The End of the World. The world was ending. The skies were dark, and the earth shook violently beneath their feet. People were running and screaming, trying to find a place to hide. The air was filled with the sound of roaring winds and thunderous crashes, as the elements raged against one another. The cause of this destruction? It was a massive asteroid that had been hurtling towards Earth for months. It had been detected early on, but no matter what they tried, scientists could not figure out how to stop the collision. As the asteroid approached, it grew larger and larger in the sky. The people on Earth could see it coming, and they knew they were doomed. It was only a matter of time before the asteroid would hit, and the world would end. At the last moment, something incredible happened. A beam of light shot out from the center of the asteroid and blasted towards Earth. The air lit up as the beam struck the ground, and people were knocked off their feet. When they looked up, they saw that the asteroid had split in two. The smaller half headed off into space, while the larger half burned up in the atmosphere. People all around the world cheered at the sight, grateful to be alive. But the victory was short-lived, as something unbelievable happened. From the ashes of the asteroid, a massive black hole appeared, and it began to suck in everything in its path. People screamed and ran as buildings and cars were pulled into the abyss. The ground shook violently, and the air grew thick with dust and debris. There was no stopping the black hole, and it continued to grow larger and more powerful by the second. In a matter of minutes, it had swallowed up the entire planet, leaving nothing but empty space in its wake. The human race was gone, along with all other forms of life on Earth. The once beautiful planet was now nothing but a memory, lost forever in the darkness of space. The end of the world had come, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Chapter 2. The Recruitment. In the darkness of space, a single ship flew towards the remnants of Earth. Aboard the ship, a team of scientists and engineers were gathered, all with a single mission. They had been recruited by a mysterious organization known as the Agency, to travel back in time and prevent the end of the world from happening again. The Agency had found them all through various channels, offering them a chance to make a difference in the world, or in this case, in the universe. Each member had a skill set that would be valuable in their mission, and they were all eager to get started. As they approached the remnants of Earth, they could see that the black hole was still there, a massive force that seemed to be growing by the second. The ship circled around it, and the team began to scan the area. They needed to find a way to get into the past and stop the asteroid from ever hitting Earth. It wasn't long before they found what they were looking for, a small portal located on the outer edge of the black hole. It was only visible due to a faint energy signature that their scanners had picked up. They knew it was their only chance to get inside the past and stop the end of the world from happening again. The team gathered around the portal, and one by one, they jumped into the unknown. As they fell through the portal, they could feel their bodies contorting and twisting, as if they were being stretched to their limits. They could hear the sound of thousands of voices, whispering in an unknown language, and the air around them grew cold and dense. As they emerged from the portal, they found themselves in a different time and place. They were standing in the middle of a desert, the sun beating down on them. But that was not the strangest thing. They were not alone. A few hundred feet away from them was a group of people, seemingly frozen in time. They were dressed in what appeared to be ancient garments, and they were all staring at the sky. The team approached slowly, trying not to alarm the people. As they got closer, they could see that one of the people had a strange device in their hands. It was a device that looked like it had been made from various pieces of technology, welded together in a haphazard manner. The device was glowing, sending out a beam of light towards the sky. The team realized that this must be their connection to the asteroid, and they quickly approached the person holding the device. As they got closer, the person suddenly awoke from their frozen state, and they looked directly at the team. "What are you doing here?" the person asked, their voice echoing through the desert. "We're here to stop the end of the world," the team leader replied. The person with the device looked skeptical, but they could see the determination in the team's eyes. They nodded their head, and the team began to work on the strange device. They had no idea what they were doing, but they knew they needed to stop the asteroid from ever getting to Earth. As they worked, they could hear the sound of something coming towards them, something big. They looked up, and they saw the asteroid hurtling towards them at an incredible speed. They were running out of time. With a final push, they managed to activate the device, sending out a beam of light that shone directly onto the asteroid. The trajectory of the asteroid changed, and it began to veer off course. The team cheered as they watched the asteroid fly off into space, leaving behind a trail of light. They had done it. They had prevented the end of the world. But there was no time to celebrate, as they could hear the sound of voices in the distance. They knew they had changed the course of history, and they needed to get back to the future as soon as possible. The team quickly gathered around the portal, and they jumped into the unknown once again. As they fell through the portal, they could feel their bodies contorting and twisting, as if they were being stretched to their limits. They could hear the sound of thousands of voices, whispering in an unknown language, and the air around them grew cold and dense. When they emerged from the portal, they were back on their own ship, floating in space. They looked out the window, and they saw that the black hole was gone. Earth was safe once again, and the human race would continue to thrive. The team breathed a collective sigh of relief, knowing that they had done something incredible. They were just getting started, and they knew that their journey was far from over. But for now, they could rest and celebrate their victory. They had saved the world, and that was something to be proud of. Chapter 3. The first battle. As the ship made its way back to the present, the team of scientists and engineers began to prepare for what was to come. They knew that they had changed the course of time, and they needed to be ready for any new challenges that may arise. It wasn't long before their preparations were tested. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, they were immediately attacked by an unknown force. They could see ships flying towards them, weapons drawn, ready to fire. The team quickly went into action, powering up the ship's weapons and shields. They knew they had to defend themselves, no matter what the cost. As they began to exchange fire, they could see that the enemy ships were piloted by humanoid creatures. They were heavily armed, and they seemed to be far more advanced than anything they had encountered before. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, with no end in sight. The team used every weapon at their disposal, trying to protect the ship and each other. The enemy ships were relentless, though, and they seemed to have an endless supply of weapons and drones. As the battle raged on, the team noticed that the ships were being piloted by robots. They were incredibly advanced machines, with razor-sharp reflexes and a seemingly endless supply of ammunition. The team knew they were in trouble. Just when they thought all was lost, a new ship appeared on their radar. It was much larger than the enemy ships, and it seemed to be armed to the teeth. As the ship drew closer, they could see that it was piloted by a group of humans who were heavily armed and armored. The new ship opened fire on the enemy ships, quickly taking out several of them. The team could see that the humans on the other ship were highly trained and skilled, and they quickly gained the upper hand in the battle. The enemy ships were forced to retreat, and the team breathed a collective sigh of relief. They had won their first battle, but they knew it would not be their last. They were in a war, and they needed to be ready for anything that may come their way. As the other ship approached, the team could see that it was piloted by a group of soldiers. They were heavily armored, with weapons at the ready. They boarded the team's ship, and they began to escort them to a nearby base. "We've been waiting for you," one of the soldiers said. "You're part of the resistance, and we need all the help we can get." The team looked at one another in confusion, but they knew that they had no choice. They needed allies if they were going to survive in this war. They followed the soldiers, unsure of what was to come next. As they neared the base, they could see that it was hidden in a deep ravine, surrounded by mountains. It was camouflaged to avoid detection, and it seemed to be heavily fortified. The team was quickly ushered inside, and they were greeted by a new group of allies. These allies were part of the resistance, a group of humans who had been fighting against the alien invasion for years. The resistance leader was a woman named Commander Elena, and she quickly brought the team up to speed. They had been sent back in time to stop the alien invasion from ever happening, but they had arrived too late. The aliens had already infiltrated the Earth, and they were slowly taking over. "We need you to help us fight," Elena said. "You're our last hope." The team knew that they had no choice. They had been recruited for a reason, and they were determined to do whatever it took to save the world. They would fight alongside the resistance, no matter what the cost. The first battle was over, but the war had just begun. The team was ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead, and they knew that they would not rest until they had saved the world from destruction. Chapter 4. The Forbidden Planet. The team of scientists and engineers were now fighting alongside the resistance. They were training intensely, learning how to fight against the alien threat and protect their allies. It was a demanding and challenging process, but they knew that the fate of the world was at stake. One day, Commander Elena called the team to her office. She had a new mission for them, one that was of the utmost importance. "We need you to go to the Forbidden Planet," she said. The team looked at each other quizzically. "What's the Forbidden Planet?" one of them asked. "It's a planet that we have been forbidden to travel to," Elena explained. "But we've recently discovered that it may hold the key to defeating the aliens once and for all." The team was intrigued. They knew that they had to take the risk and travel to the Forbidden Planet to uncover whatever secrets it held. The journey to this planet would be long and dangerous, and they would be traveling without backup. But they were ready for the challenge. As they made their way through space, they could see the planet up ahead. It was covered in a dense fog, and there was little information available on what they could expect once they landed. They knew that they had to be cautious and prepared for anything that lay ahead. When they landed on the planet, they discovered that it was an incredibly hostile environment. The air was toxic, and the temperatures were extreme. They had to wear specialized suits just to survive. As they explored the planet, they came across strange ruins. The ruins were unlike anything they had ever seen before, with symbols and carvings that were unfamiliar. One of the team members, a linguist named Dr. Chen, was able to decipher some of the inscriptions. "What is it saying?" the team leader asked. "It's a warning," Dr. Chen said, her face full of concern. This planet was once inhabited by an advanced civilization. They were destroyed by an unknown force, and they left this warning for any who may come across this planet in the future. The team knew that they needed to tread carefully. They didn't know what they may encounter, and they knew that there was a reason why this planet had been forbidden. As they made their way deeper into the ruins, they came across an artifact. It was a device that resembled the one they had used to stop the asteroid from hitting Earth. They knew that it was something of incredible power, and that it may hold the key to defeating the aliens. The team took the artifact and returned to their ship. As they left the planet, they could see that something was happening. The planet was shaking, and the ruins were collapsing in on themselves. They knew that they had triggered something, but they didn't know what. As they returned to the resistance base, they were met with a surprise. The aliens had attacked, and the base was under siege. The team quickly went into action, using the technology they had discovered on the Forbidden Planet to fight off the invaders. They were able to hold off the attack and save the base from destruction. Once the battle was over, the team knew that they had to report back to Commander Elena. They had discovered something incredible on the Forbidden Planet, but they had also triggered something dangerous. As they approached her office, they could see that something was wrong. The door was locked, and there was no answer when they knocked. They could hear strange noises coming from inside. The team broke open the door, and they saw a horrific sight. Commander Elena was lying on the ground, unconscious. There was a strange device attached to her, and it was sending out a beam of light that seemed to be draining her of her life force. The team knew that they had to act fast. They deactivated the device and brought Elena back to consciousness. When she awoke, she explained what had happened. The aliens had infiltrated the base, and they had tried to take her hostage. She had activated a device that would have self-destructed the base, but she had been captured before she could do so. The team was horrified. They knew that they had to be more careful than ever before. They had discovered a powerful artifact on the Forbidden Planet, but they had triggered something dangerous. The war was far from over, and they were in more danger than ever before. Chapter 5. The Betrayal. The team of scientists and engineers were now back at the resistance base, recovering from their journey to the Forbidden Planet. They had uncovered a powerful artifact, but they had also triggered something dangerous. The aliens were still a threat, and the team knew that they had to be more careful than ever before. One day, the team leader received a message from an unknown source. It was an invitation to meet with someone they had never heard of before, a human named Marcus. Marcus claimed to have important information that could help them defeat the aliens. The team was skeptical, but they knew that they had to investigate. They agreed to meet with Marcus at a location outside of the resistance base. When they arrived, they could see that Marcus was heavily armed and armored. He seemed to be in a rush, and he quickly got to the point. "I have information that could help you," Marcus said. "But you need to act fast. The aliens are planning something big, something that could mean the end of the human race." The team listened intently, knowing that what Marcus was saying was a matter of life and death. Marcus explained that he had been working with the aliens, but had turned against them when he saw what their plans were. He had information on an upcoming attack, and he knew where their base was located. The team knew that they had to act fast. They had no reason to trust Marcus, but they also knew that he may be their only hope. They agreed to follow him to the alien base, under the condition that he would turn himself over to the resistance once the mission was completed. As they made their way towards the alien base, the team couldn't help but feel uneasy. They knew that they were taking a big risk by trusting Marcus, and they were prepared for the worst. When they arrived at the base, they discovered that it was heavily fortified. They could see that the aliens were busy preparing for something big. The team quickly went into action, using the intel provided by Marcus to infiltrate the base. They were able to take out the guards and make their way to the main control room. There, they discovered the aliens' plans. "They're planning to destroy Earth," one of the team members exclaimed. "They're going to use the artifact we uncovered on the Forbidden Planet to cause a chain reaction that will destroy the planet." The team knew that they had to act fast. They had to find a way to stop the aliens from carrying out their plan. They were about to leave the control room when they heard a voice behind them. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Marcus said, aiming his weapon at them. The team was shocked. They had trusted Marcus, and he had betrayed them. "Who are you really?" the team leader asked. "I am one of the aliens," Marcus said. "I was sent to infiltrate the resistance and gain their trust. I knew that if I gave you false information, you would come here to stop us. And now, you're going to die." The team was trapped. They had nowhere to run, and the aliens were closing in on them. They knew that they had to think fast. "We have to use the artifact," one of the team members said. "If we overload it, it may cause a chain reaction that will destroy the base and the aliens inside." The team worked quickly, using the artifact to overload the base's core. As they were doing so, they could see that the aliens were panicking. They knew that they had been betrayed by Marcus, and they were struggling to stop the chain reaction. The team barely made it out of the base before it exploded. They knew that they had lost a valuable ally in Marcus, but they had also gained a new understanding of the aliens' plans. As they returned to the resistance base, they knew that they had to prepare for the worst. The aliens were planning to destroy Earth, and they had to find a way to stop them. The betrayal had shaken them, but they were determined to keep fighting. They had to stop the aliens, no matter what it took. Chapter 6. The weapon. The team of scientists and engineers were now back at the resistance base, recovering from their encounter with the alien base and the betrayal of Marcus. They knew that the aliens were planning to destroy Earth, but they didn't yet know how they were going to do it. One day, the team leader received a message from an unknown source. It was a message from someone named Dr. Hadley. Dr. Hadley claimed to have information on a weapon that could stop the aliens once and for all. The team was intrigued but also skeptical. They had been burned by Marcus, and they didn't know if they could trust Dr. Hadley. But they had to investigate. They set up a meeting with Dr. Hadley, curious to see what he would have to offer. When they arrived, they met Drive Hadley in a nondescript building at the edge of the city. He was an elderly man, with deep-set eyes and a quiet demeanor. He welcomed the team and led them to a room at the back of the building. Inside the room was a large object, covered in a tarp. "This is the weapon," Dr. Hadley said. "It was created by a team of scientists who were trying to develop a way to stop the aliens. They were successful, but the weapon was never used. It was deemed too dangerous." The team was curious. They asked Dr. Hadley to uncover the weapon. When he did, they could see that it was unlike anything they had seen before. It was a long, cylindrical object with strange markings on the surface. "This weapon has the power to destroy the aliens' ships in one blow," Dr. Hadley said. "But it also has the power to destroy Earth if used incorrectly." The team knew that they had to be cautious. They didn't want to cause more harm than good. They took the weapon back to the resistance base and began to study it. They knew that they had to be careful in how they used it. As they were studying the weapon, they received a message from an unlikely ally. It was a group of aliens who had defected and were willing to help the humans. The team was skeptical at first, but they knew that they needed all the help they could get. The defectors explained that the aliens had developed a new technology that allowed them to manipulate time. They could create temporal anomalies and use them to their advantage in battle. The defectors knew where the technology was being developed and offered to help the team destroy it. The team decided to take the risk and trust the defectors. They took the weapon and headed to the location of the time technology. When they arrived, they could see that it was heavily guarded. But with the help of the defectors, they were able to infiltrate the facility. As they made their way deeper into the facility, they could see the time technology. It was a large machine, with tendrils of energy pulsing through it. They knew that it could create a temporal anomaly large enough to change the course of the war. The team quickly went into action, using the weapon to destroy the machine. They knew that they had to be careful, and they worked meticulously to make sure they targeted the right section of the machine. When they fired the weapon, the machine exploded in a ball of energy. The team was thrown back, and they could see that the explosion had caused a ripple effect. It was as though the fabric of time and space had been torn apart. When the team regained their footing, they could see that they were no longer in the same timeline. They were in a future version of Earth, one that had been taken over by the aliens. They could see the wreckage of the resistance base, and they knew that they had to do something to set things right. The team quickly realized that they had to go back in time and make sure that they didn't use the weapon incorrectly. They knew that they had to be careful, as one misstep could lead to disastrous consequences. As they made their way back to the present, they knew that they now had the power to change the course of the war. They had the weapon and the knowledge to defeat the aliens once and for all. They were determined to use it to their advantage and save Earth from destruction. Chapter 7. The final battle. The team of scientists and engineers were now armed with the weapon and the knowledge they needed to stop the aliens. They knew that the final battle was approaching, and they were determined to do whatever it took to ensure the survival of the human race. As they prepared for the final battle, the team knew that they couldn't do it alone. They reached out to their allies, both human and alien, and formed a coalition. Together, they stood ready to face the alien threat. When the aliens arrived, it was a massive fleet of ships. The team could see that they had brought all of their forces to bear. The battle was intense, and the team quickly went into action. They used the weapon to take out the alien ships one by one, but it was clear that the aliens were not going to give up easily. As the battle raged on, the team could see that they were losing ground. The aliens were relentless, and their technology was far superior to anything the humans had seen before. The team knew that they had to do something drastic to turn the tide of the battle. They decided to use the weapon to create a temporal anomaly. They would go back in time and stop the aliens from ever coming to Earth. The team knew that this was a risky move, but they had no other choice. As they activated the weapon, they could feel the energy coursing through their bodies. They knew that they were taking a huge risk, but they were determined to save the world. When they emerged from the temporal anomaly, they could see that they were in the past, just before the aliens had arrived on Earth. The team quickly went into action, using their knowledge of the future to stop the aliens before they could reach Earth. The battle was intense, and the team knew that this was their last chance to save the world. They fought with all their strength, and they could see that they were making a difference. The tide of the battle was turning, and the resistance was gaining ground. As the battle came to a close, the team breathed a sigh of relief. They had done it. They had saved Earth from destruction. The aliens had been defeated, and the human race had been given a new lease on life. The team knew that they couldn't stay in the past. They had to return to their own time, where they could ensure that the aliens didn't return. When they emerged from the temporal anomaly, they could see that the world was different. The skies were clear, and the world was at peace. The team had done the impossible. They had saved the world from destruction, using their knowledge and their expertise to defeat the alien threat. They knew that the battle was far from over, the future was uncertain, and there were still dangers to be faced. But for now, they could rest easy, knowing that they had achieved the impossible.